Hello, and welcome to Politics in a Movie with your hosts, Doug and Mike. I'm Doug.
And I'm Mike.
And this week's episode, U.S. Supreme Court, the Earl Warren years, and Jurassic Park. As always, Mike, we want to give a quick shout out to our guy behind the scenes, Frenchie.
Hi, Frenchie.
He's our editor and podcast guru, or as he likes to say, ouvrier.
Huh. Don't know what that means.
I think it means guru.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, so a lot of listeners, of course, they're always eager to know how we link our political topic and our film. We'll just let them know, Mike, that this episode, the linkage is, well, first of all, in the Supreme Court, a lot of them judges be old.
That's right. They've got lifetime appointments, Doug.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so they're old, like the dinosaurs. And and dinosaurs, they ruled supreme when they were around, which is around 65 million plus years ago, Mike.
Yeah.
Not 6,000 years ago, which some non-sciencey people would have you believe. Here's the tip, folks. For things like this, you should mostly believe scientists. Science! And not your uncle who read something online.
Yes.
Here's another reason to believe science for those of you who are, shall we say, reticent. It's the reason you're listening to our voices right now.
Science.
Science! I'm not sure how you're getting this podcast, but the short of it is science. How are all of you hearing our voices magically through time and space? Science. Weird science. So believe the science, Mike.
I'm with you.
All right, Mike. Well, listen, before we jump into your segment, why don't we do one of our favorite segments, listener comments?
Sounds good.
Yeah, sponsored by Lent Mail. Want custom emails you can choose so you don't get spammed? Visit lentmail.com and use our promo code PAAM. You know, Mike, our promo code PAAM, that's Politics and a Movie.
That's easy. That's just say Pam.
Yeah, just say Pam, everybody. Pam. You know who we really need to get as a sponsor, Mike?
Who?
Pam.
Pam.
Yes, the spray thing that people spray when they're cooking.
Not my sister, Pam?
No, not your sister.
She might do it. She should. She should throw us a few bucks. Okay.
All right, so now we're going to take some listener comments. Frenchie. All right, he's given one to me, Mike. This one is from SM from KC. Clever concept. The hosts know their stuff, and I enjoyed the memories the discussion brought back to me. Oh, well, I like that. Mike,
nice.
I have to say, we really do know our stuff.
Yeah. He's talking about the Truman Goldfinger episode.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we certainly know our stuff there.
Yeah, I liked that episode. If you haven't listened to it, I really recommend it.
Yes, I concur. All right, here we go. Here's one for you, I think.
DC Yoda, the guy's name is Albin with a B, not Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh, right. Yes. I think we had a sound clip in our last episode. Frenchie put that in.
Well, it's fine with me if we don't use any clips from Alvin and the Chipmunks going forward.
Frenchie has taken that to heart. But you listeners should know this. Frenchie is from another country. And in France, they actually have a version called Albin and the Squirrels. So he could have got confused.
All right, then.
All right, the next one is, we have one here from Stickman33. He says, you guys should argue more. That might spice things up. Well, I don't know. I don't think we need to be like a reality show, Mike.
You're wrong, Doug. Oh, sorry. I don't want to argue with you, Doug.
Yes. All right. Well, I think we both argue with that. We don't need to argue.
No, we don't. Okay, I see. Here's another one. This is from Michael. Michael says, I'm really enjoying all these episodes, and I love the yin and yang of the topics. The sound effects can be a little jarring, but keep up the great work. Yeah. Frenchie, I guess you got to listen to that one. The sound effects can be a little jarring, but I appreciate the compliments. I appreciate that you're enjoying the episodes.
Mike. Yeah, me too. Well, my question for you, Mike, is who's the yin and who's the yang here?
Yeah, is one better than the other?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think they're just equal.
Okay. Well, so we're not arguing about that. I'm the yin.
No, I'm the yin.
All right, Mike. Well, that's it for listener comments. As always, keep them coming, folks. We appreciate it. Well, with that, let's jump into your topic.
Yes. Well, Earl Warren, who you may have heard was Chief Justice of the Supreme Court from 1953 to 1969. He was previously the governor of California. He was a lawyer, a politician, and again, governor of California from 1943 to 1953, and the only governor of California to ever be elected 3 times.
Oh,
yeah. So he was a force in California and a conservative. He was born in 1891 in Los Angeles and raised in Bakersfield, California. After graduating from Cal Berkeley School of Law, he began a legal career in Oakland.
oh,
So he's making his way around California, Doug.
interesting.
He was deputy district attorney for Alameda County in 1920 and was appointed district attorney in 1925. And he emerged as a leader of the Republican Party and won election as Attorney General of California in 1938. In that position, again, he was a conservative. And I say this because the history of Earl Warren is that the Warren Court, which we'll get to, was a liberal court. But he was a conservative. He was a Republican. He was governor of California, and he presided over a period of major growth in California in his term there as governor. He supported the internment of Japanese Americans in internment camps during World War II, just to give another example of his conservatism.
Yeah, it's interesting in California. California is generally perceived as a liberal state, I suppose.
Yes.
So. But there's been a lot of governors who have been, Republican, conservative. I mean, the one that comes to my mind is Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
So Earl Warren being governor of California, the largest state in the country, I don't know if it was the largest state then, but his standing as a Republican and his reputation becomes large. And he's nominated as the running mate to Thomas Dewey in the 1948 presidential election against Harry Truman and his running mate, Alvin Barkley.
Ah, yes.
Barkley sucks! Barkley sucks!
They lose that election. Everybody predicted that Warren and Dewey, again, Warren was Dewey's running mate, that Dewey and Warren were going to win. But really at the last minute, Harry Truman pulled through and won. But Warren was not done. So in 1952, he seeks the presidential election, being seen now as a national figure in Republican politics. He's rising in the Republican ranks, and he's running as a candidate in 1952. But he's running against Dwight Eisenhower, whose reputation is also becoming big because he had just overseen the victory in World War II. So Eisenhower and Warren make a deal. Warren would support Eisenhower for the nomination of the Republican Party, and Eisenhower would nominate Warren for the Supreme Court if he wins. Of course, Eisenhower does win, and he appoints Earl Warren to the Supreme Court. Funny thing, though, Doug, the first vacancy to appear during Eisenhower's term was for the Chief Justice. And so, Eisenhower tries to make a deal and says, okay, well, maybe we'll promote one of the associate justices to Chief Justice and we'll nominate Warren. And Warren said, no, we said first vacancy. So that's how Warren becomes Chief Justice. He jumps from being governor of California to Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
So that's interesting. So, Mike, please explain to me what makes it a Chief Justice? Do they get like a headdress or something?
Doug, I think that most Chief Justices, they serve along with the rest of the Associate Justices. And but it's funny that you say that because one of our previous Chief Justices, now it's John Roberts, but previously it was Rehnquist. And Rehnquist chose to wear stripes on his robe as a show that he was Chief Justice. But no, typically there's no special thing. They're the administrator of the court. And so they make decisions about when they publish the decision, who's going to write. I mean, they'll all write different opinions. And I think the Chief Justice is the one who will choose who's going to write. And Warren, not surprisingly, as some Chief Justices do, chose himself to write the opinion in some of his opinions. Yeah. So Earl Warren is now Chief Justice of the United States, and he's known for several very groundbreaking landmark decisions. It includes Gideon versus Wainwright, which established the criminal defendant's right to an attorney in felony cases, Miranda versus Arizona, which required police officers to give what became known as the Miranda warning to suspects taken into police custody to advise them of their constitutional protections.
And so that Miranda law, that's not named after that character in Sex and the City?
No.
Different Miranda, Doug.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The very first case that came before the Warren court was Brown versus the Board of Education. That was regarding the schools in Topeka. And the decision was it ended segregation in public schools. So before Brown versus the Board of Education, public schools could be segregated. But after Brown, they're no longer segregated.
Wow.
Other major landmark opinions included Griswold v. Connecticut, which established a constitutional right to privacy and struck down a state law that restricted access to contraceptives.
Oh.
Yes. Loving versus Virginia was another decision that the Warren Court made, and it struck down laws which banned or otherwise regulated interracial marriage.
Wow. So there really were a lot of landmark decisions.
Yeah. So in 1969, Earl Warren retired after all these landmark decisions and handed off the court to new Chief Justice Warren Burger in 1969. So a lot done by Earl Warren. He's a big figure in American history.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I think I recalled in one of our previous episodes, he was also involved in the JFK investigation.
Yes, that's right, Doug. Thank you for noting that. He was chosen by LBJ to head up the Warren Commission to investigate the JFK assassination. So yes, that's also a big part of it. In addition to being governor, Chief Justice, leading all of these important landmark cases in the Supreme Court, he ran the Warren Commission, which made the proclamation or the decision about the investigation into the JFK assassination.
Yeah, right. Now you say that he was chosen to head up the Warren Commission. I mean, like, was it called the Warren Commission first? And they're like, hey, maybe you should head it up because that's your name.
Yeah, no. I think they created the commission and then decided to call it the Warren Commission.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, it would have been, maybe a little bit awkward, if there was somebody else, I think they had to make him the head of the commission.
That's right. That's what they should do. They should name things first and then have to pick someone that makes sense.
Right. I see you have to serve as head of the commission. It's named after you already.
Yes. So, Mike, it has me thinking now that you talk about how the Warren years, they've done some really good major law decisions. And it made me think about how I've been hearing a number of people talk about states' rights and how, that's the thing, like states should have the ability to make their own laws all the time, and that, the federal government is taking away states' rights and it should always be in the hands of the states. But I mean, you tell me, I think that there's certainly cases where it's just an obvious decision that it should be across the board federal mandate.
I don't know if you want to use the term federal mandate, but I think what the Supreme Court decided was that all of us as U.S. citizens have constitutional rights. And, in Brown versus Board of Education, the local government, in this case, there was the Topeka, Kansas School District, felt that they should be able to segregate their schools. And the Warren Court, the Supreme Court, said, no, you have a constitutional right as a U.S. citizen to attend desegregated schools. And in Loving versus Virginia, same thing. The state, in that case, Virginia, said, we don't agree with interracial marriage. Well, the Warren Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, said, no, your constitutional right to privacy says that you can marry someone of another race.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's important, for people to understand that, you can't just put everything into the hands of the states.
Yeah. I just think the U.S. Constitution is what gives us our personal rights, our individual liberty. And it's the Supreme Court that enforces the Constitution.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but again, major figure in American history. And it's, I think, a good thing to note all of his contributions.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's move into talking about Jurassic Park.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
So, you know, Mike, Jurassic Park is a science fiction action film made in 1993.
Yeah.
And I'll say, first and foremost, Jurassic Park is based on a book written by Michael Crichton in 1990.
Yep.
Now, Michael Crichton, I got to tell you, Mike, this guy is one of my favorite authors, having written over 28 novels.
Wow.
Many of them bestsellers since the 1970s. But he really ruled in the 90s, where he had 7 books turned into movies.
Wow.
So in a 10-year period, 7 of his novels got turned into film.
Oh,
And he also created the TV show ER, where he was the main writer for that show.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, he's a very smart writer. He went to Harvard. He actually got a medical degree there. I don't think he ever used it, but he did. He got the medical degree, and then he went in and wrote all these novels. Now, you know, Mike, to be honest, I could do a whole episode just on this guy, Michael Crichton, but I recommend 2 things. One, to the listeners, read some of his novels if you haven't done so already. And then 2, read novels in general.
Yeah.
That's my advice. And Mike, you know, I think that's getting lost in society. People not spending the time to read a full book just for fun these days, you know?
Well, you can just read the plot on Wikipedia, Doug.
Well, that's what's missing. You know, there used to be like an old public service announcement, Mike, to get people to read. It used to say something like, give a hoot, read a book. What was it? Maybe Frenchie can look that up. Give a hoot, read a book.
I think it's give a hoot, don't pollute.
Oh, damn, you're right. Yes. Frenchie's letting me know that it was reading is fundamental.
Reading is fundamental. Brings these boys and girls all kinds of books.
Oh yeah, I remember
They
that.
used to say that, and they'd highlight the word fun. Anyway, so I encourage people, read more.
Yeah.
Now, Michael Crichton, his writing style, Mike, it's really unique and captivating. He also wrote some nonfiction. One novel I'll just quickly mention, a great nonfiction book he wrote in 1988 is called Travels.
Oh.
Yeah, so I would encourage some people to look that up. Great book. And then one last fun fact on Michael Crichton, Mike, is did you know he was 6'9"?
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
That is funny. I did not know that.
Yes!
He's very tall. He was a tall fella. Oh, and Mike, Frenchie's chiming in for you Europeans. That's 206 centimeters.
Wow. He's as tall as a T-Rex.
I don't know about that. All right. So, Mike, did you know Jurassic Park was directed by Steven Spielberg?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And he actually directed the sequel as well, which is a little bit rare. Now, Mike, you always like to know, what awards do these movies win? And Jurassic Park won all 3 Academy Awards for which it was nominated.
Is that right?
Best sound editing, best sound mixing, and best visual effects. Now, of course,
Yeah.
visual effects, we're going to talk a little bit more about those, but the company that did the special effects, Industrial Light and Magic,
Yeah.
this film won them their 13th Oscar for visual effects. And we'll talk about them in a minute.
Doug, is there an award for, the dinosaur trainers? The guys who,
Yeah,
that must be a tough job.
the dino wranglers.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about how those dinosaurs were produced for film. All right, so now, Mike, let's talk money. It cost $63 million to make this film, but it grossed over $1 billion.
Oh.
That made it the biggest grossing film in history at the time until
Wow.
Titanic in 1997. So it was a good 4-year run where they held that title.
Wow. Okay.
And the film created a franchise that produced 5 sequels, so far. And ironically, it produced an actual real theme park based on it.
At Universal Studios.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Been there.
Cool. All right. So, Mike, let's talk about the film. I love the opening scene that has the 2 dig scientists played by Sam Neill and Laura Dern.
Yeah.
And there's a great moment where they're analyzing some dinosaur bones like in the ground, and there's a crowd of people, watching, and some kid says something that's disrespecting the dinosaurs, like, oh, it looks like Looks like a turkey.
That doesn't look very scary. More like a 6-foot turkey.
And Sam Neill lets the kid have it. He lets him know the deal by scaring him. You know, that turkey will gut you and watch your intestines spill out before you die.
Yikes.
He slashes at you here, across the belly, spilling your intestines. You are alive when they start to eat you.
So do you think there are usually big crowds at dinosaur digs?
You know, I don't, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe in the 90s. And then right after that, things kick off when the billionaire John Hammond hires them.
John Hammond, and I'm delighted to meet you finally in person, Dr. Grant.
You know, this guy looks like a jolly Kentucky Fried Chicken colonel. And I like how the actor portrays him. I think that actor came out of retirement to take the role.
Sir David Attenborough?
Yes, well done.
So he's a knight?
Yeah. You know, they also considered Sean Connery for that role.
You're joking.
Interesting.
So the billionaire hires them, and they fly right away to an island off Costa Rica.
I've leased it from the government, and I've spent the last 5 years setting up a kind of biological preserve. Really spectacular, spared no expense.
Now, in reality, you know, they filmed in the Hawaiian island of Kauai.
Oh.
Beautiful island, Mike.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah. Great for dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Now at the park, Mike, you know, they've got two main computer programmers running the park. One's played by Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Now this was 1 year before he was in Pulp Fiction. So he wasn't dropping F-bombs like most of his hit films after.
English, motherfucker! Do you speak it? Yes!
It's a kid's movie.
Yeah.
It's a family movie.
Reasonable, PG.
Yeah.
And then the other programmer was played by Wayne Knight, which many people know as Newman from Seinfeld.
Hello, Newman.
Hello, Jerry.
I can think of sound clip that.
Oh yeah, you know Frenchie. You know Frenchie's going to go off on that.
I know what you're going to use, Frenchie.
Good night, Jerry. Good night, Newman.
Now here's something that I think is kind of cool, Mike. You know, they have a thinking machines supercomputer in the park that these guys are using to run things and to analyze the dinosaur DNA. You know, that's a real brand of supercomputer. It's a massively parallel supercomputer named the Connection Machine.
You know anybody who can network 8 connection machines and debug 2 million lines of code for what I bid for this job?
And the company, Thinking Machines, was spawned from MIT, and it made some of the most powerful supercomputers of the time. By 1993, the 4 fastest computers in the world were connection machines.
Wow.
Faster than fast, quicker than quick. I am lightning.
So it's kind of cool when a film based technology on real existing products, I think.
Yeah.
Now, sadly, Mike, they filed for bankruptcy in 1994, like a year later. You know, some technology is like a little too soon for its time, you know? All right. Now, Mike, this brings me to talk about Industrial Light and Magic, also known as ILM. It's a special effects company, Mike, founded in the 1970s.
Yeah.
It was founded by George Lucas when he started doing Star Wars. These guys were a special effects powerhouse. They were responsible for films, of course, Star Wars, but also all the Indiana Jones films, Harry Potter, for example, all the Mission Impossible. I mean, hundreds of films. ILM, you know, they were the masterminds behind the special effects.
Yeah.
And it's sort of interesting, Mike, that ILM, they use a whole bunch of computers to render these scenes, you know, which include the dinosaurs. And it could take hours for those computers to render one single frame. So literally it could be a week or weeks before they could see a completed scene and see how it looked. And if the power went out in their building while the computers were working, they'd have to start over.
Oh.
One guy from ILM said it took a year for all those scenes from Jurassic Park to be rendered by the computer.
I'll bet, because they looked good.
Yes, and they were groundbreaking, those scenes. Now, in the film, they also had live, like, dino machines that they built, you know, and you can tell watching the film, you can tell which dinosaurs were built versus generated on the computer. That T-Rex, Mike, was 20 feet tall, and it weighed 19,000 pounds.
Wow.
And apparently it would get wet during some filming because, you know, they're in the rainforest or whatever. And then it would weigh even more because it would have all this rubber that would get saturated with water. And I don't know, they'd have people run around with paper towels to absorb all the water.
Bounty's the quicker picker-upper.
But as I said, this film, Mike, it really was groundbreaking in computer-generated imagery. It was the first time digital technology was used to create a complete and detailed living creature.
Is that right?
And it also, Mike, it was the first to have digital theater system sound, DTS. You know, when you go to a movie and it starts with an ad for how cool the sound is?
Yes.
Yeah, this is like the first film that had that. All right, now, Mike, I have a personal story regarding ILM. They were located in Marin, San Rafael, California. That's about 20 miles north of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Eventually, they moved into the Presidio in San Francisco in 2005.
Oh.
But prior to that, for a long while, they were in San Rafael. And I had a friend, Mike, who worked there, and he got me in once as a visitor.
What was it like?
Well, I'll tell you, it was, well, first of all, it was located in a nondescript building in a residential neighborhood. And it had a sign out front that said Kerner Optical. Like it looked like it was like an eye doctor's office.
Oh.
And if you drive into that neighborhood, there's like, ranch style homes. It's like a residential neighborhood. And this building, it looked like a regular sized 1-story family home. But when you walk in, Mike, there's a reception desk that you have to sign in. And there's movie posters, all around. And once you sign in, they send you down this long hallway that's just lined with movie posters from all these movies that they've done.
Wow.
It's a really long hallway, and then you get to some, large double doors. And when you open them, it opens into this huge back area that has a winding staircase going down into a literal valley. And it's a huge valley down there that's like a big Hollywood-like back lot.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And there's people running around down there, like moving set equipment and filming little scenes. And so you walk down this like long winding staircase to get down into the main lot. And I got to tour some of it, Mike. I got to walk through some of these warehouses they had that had like tons of set pieces.
That's cool.
Yeah. Including like some original R2-D2s were in there. Original stuff from Star Wars, miniatures from different films. And I remember like seeing there was like the miniature subway set for that movie Ghost.
Huh.
Yeah, and then so we're exploring these different sections, and then Mike, suddenly someone like ran up to us and said I wasn't allowed to be in this far, and they gave me the boot.
But you got all the pictures you needed?
Yeah, my secret camera captured all I needed to see.
I saw the original C-3PO at the Smithsonian.
All right, well, anyway, back to the film. So on the island, Mike, the billionaire Hammond, he also brings on Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
Who plays a pessimistic mathematician who specializes in chaos theory. You know what chaos theory is, Mike?
What is it, Doug?
Well, I don't know. But it's basically if something looks like it's random, it's not. And it can be analyzed to show patterns.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of like, people used to think like it was random when it rained. But these days, scientists know that there's like a gazillions of patterns in there.
Oh.
Of course, local weather people still don't know how to predict that, but one day it could be like how Back to the Future predicts that weather will be known precisely.
Right now, it's pouring rain. Wait 5 more seconds. Too bad the post office isn't as efficient as the weather service.
All right, now let's talk about Jeff Goldblum. Mike, did you know that they considered Jim Carrey in that role initially?
Let me tell you something!
That would have been very different.
Yeah. I think they made the right choice with Goldblum, though.
Yes.
And he plays that role to perfection as a rock star-like mathematician.
Yeah, it's believable. He seems like he could be a smart guy.
Yeah, seems like he could be a smart guy. Yeah, he was a fan favorite. His role in Jurassic Park, it really skyrocketed his career. And then he starred in 3 more Jurassic films afterwards because he was such a fan favorite.
He was the Fly.
Yeah. And then he starred in The Fly. Oh, Mike, Frenchie is letting us know that he was in The Fly before Jurassic Park.
Oh.
Yeah. What?
Got it, Frenchie.
Like 6 years before. All right. Well, I really like how he delivers his lines. What do you think of that?
He's got a definite quirky delivery. Just because you could doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. He has some great little lines where he does those wacky pauses.
You didn't earn the knowledge for yourselves, so you don't take any responsibility for it.
But he is the skeptic, knowing early on that everything's going to go haywire. And one of the scenes I particularly like is when he's explaining chaos theory. They're in the car going through the park, and he's explaining it and the unpredictability in the tour. When Sam Neill jumps out of the car to go check something out, and Goldblum's like, "Now see, that's chaos theory right there." And then Laura Dern like jumps out to chase him, and he's like, "And so's that." And now I'm talking to myself.
See, here I'm now by myself, talking to myself. That's chaos theory.
Yeah, so he's great. Some other things I love in this film, Mike, is when everything goes to hell and the T-Rex is chasing them. You know, they're in a Jeep driving away, and the T-Rex is chasing them from behind, and it shows the mirror, like the side mirror, and it says, "Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear."
Yeah.
Must go faster.
I like when Newman gets it.
Newman! Yeah, they have a lot of creative ways that people, get, eaten.
Yeah.
One of the things is they have in the film, they've got this guy who's like just a greedy lawyer.
We're gonna make a fortune with this place.
And he dies in spectacular fashion. He gets gobbled up.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how lawyers are just one of the most hated on characters in films, you know?
Yeah. Isn't he in the toilet when he gets...
He is. Yes, he's on the can when he gets gobbled up.
It's a tough way to go.
Yeah. Well, lawyers get a bad rap in movies. Or I guess, in some films, it's like it's a polar opposite. They're either hated on or they're heroes,
Yeah.
Sort of reminds me of a friend of mine, Mike, who became a lawyer, had his own little practice. And I looked him up once on some lawyer review site, and his ratings were exactly that. They were like polar opposites. He'd have one person that would rate him 5 stars and said, say he was fantastic and saved me. And then literally the next review would be like 1 star, and it would say he showed up drunk and stole my money.
It's not a good review.
Yeah, that one's not. But there's the 5-star one, Mike. So if you need a lawyer, I recommend him. He shows up drunk only half the time.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
One of the other things, Mike, that I love in the movie is early on when the billionaire Hammond gives his presentation and tour of the facility, right? They're like in like a Disney-like ride, they're in like an auditorium, and on the screen, there's like a cartoon explaining DNA.
Have you noticed that cartoon sounds like the Schoolhouse Rock guy?
Oh, yeah, it does.
He says like dinosaurs. He's got like this. He sounds like the Schoolhouse Rock guy.
Yeah.
They extract the preserved blood from the mosquito and, bingo, dino DNA.
Yeah, well, I love that little cartoon, and it explains, because it's explaining to us, the audience, Mike, as to the backstory.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I'll say in conclusion, Jurassic Park really was a landmark film in many ways, and I really suggest our listeners also read the book. Even if you've seen the film, it's worth it.
Yeah, I read the book. I did.
All right. Well, for all of us here at Politics and a Movie, thank you for listening. And you can check out our website at politicsandamovie.com. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Doug.
And thank you, Frenchie.
After careful consideration, I've decided not to endorse your park.